Welcome guys, today I'll explain an American action crime film called Brawl in Cell Block 99. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The film begins with Bradley towing a car into the garage where he works. His employer was waiting for him outside the workshop, and he wanted to speak to him about something serious. After seeing his employer's unusual body language, he was confused what to do. His guess proven right, since he was fired as a result of the economic crisis. He immediately packed up his things and left the workshop afterward. When Bradley returned home, he discovered his wife, Lauren, in the car parked in front of his house, talking on the phone. Bradley hurried to the car and opened the door, suspecting that his wife was calling. He told her that he just got fired from his job. He spotted a red kiss mark on his wife's neck while talking to her. Feeling jealous, he angrily grabbed his wife's cell phone and checked the last call there. It turned out that his wife had just called another man. Angrily, he sent his wife into the house. He then released his rage by wrecking his wife's car, hitting the rear view, and pulling the hood forcibly. Lauren invited to have a one-on-one talk with Bradley in the house, and he asked how long she had been having an affair. His wife later admitted that she had been having an affair with another man for 3 months. Lauren was upset after she miscarried, and Bradley was busy with his business and had little time for her. Bradley asked Lauren to start a new life after they expressed their feelings for each other. Lauren agreed. After getting fired from the repair shop, Bradley planned to work as a drug courier with a man named Gil. His wife disagreed with his decision after hearing this. Bradley, on the other hand, was convinced that finding a job soon in today's difficult economic conditions would be difficult. Bradley began working as a drug courier 8 months later. He returned home after delivering a package to a drug dealer in an apartment. His family's financial situation began to be better. She could now live in luxury, having moved into a larger and more opulent home. Lauren was expecting her second child. While making out with his wife at home, Bradley suddenly got a call from Gil, asking him to come over to his house. He then hurried away. Bradley was introduced to Gil's new friend, Elizar, after he arrived. Elizar had a large-scale drug ring in Mexico and was a gorgeous man with black hair. Elizar arrived with Roman and Pedro, 2 of his guys. These 2 males, who resembled bodyguards, had unusually strong and massive body postures. Elizar informed Bradley that the 2 guys would follow him on duty. Bradley, on the other hand, rejected Elizar's plan because one of Elizar's men, Roman, appeared to be high on narcotics. Bradley was concerned that bringing Roman with him might cause him problems. Elizar defended his men, claiming that Roman had been trained by him. Gil persuaded Bradley to take on this crucial business assignment, promising him 3 months off once the baby was delivered. Finally, Bradley agreed to accept the offer on the condition that he would lead the mission and that Elizar's troops would follow his orders. Both parties were in agreement. Bradley and Elizar's crew went right to work on their drug dealing assignment. They arrived at a pier late at night. The duty of retrieving the narcotic package that had been put on the seabed would be taken up by Bradley's and Elizar's men. They boarded a small yacht and set off for the open sea. The yacht came to a halt in the middle of the sea. Pedro was getting ready to dive to the ocean's depths to retrieve the cocaine shipment. Pedro soon discovered a large box linked with chains, resembling a pirate's treasure trove. With a crowbar, he pried open the chain lock. He swam to the surface of the sea as quickly as he could, grabbing all the drug packets. He was aided in retrieving the narcotics package by Bradley and Roman. Following that, the yacht returned to the port. As they sailed down the yacht, Bradley thought the cops would ambush them. As a result, he gave Roman and Pedro orders to toss the drug package into the sea. When Roman and Pedro heard this, they disagreed with Bradley's advice and got into a fight. Shortly, Bradley finally parted with Roman and Pedro. However, by the time they reached the car park area at the pier, the police had surrounded Roman and Pedro, and a shootout ensued. Bradley walked hurriedly back to the yacht after seeing the incident from afar. Unfortunately, on the way, he ran into a policeman who asked for his help to help them. To avoid being suspected, Bradley had to think quickly, and he appeared to be a citizen by assisting the police. After that, he shot Roman and Pedro. Pedro was killed in a shootout, and Bradley was caught by the police and immediately taken into custody. At the police station, Bradley was interrogated by a detective. Detectives learned that Bradley is an intelligent person who can deceive others. However, the cops were not foolish. His trial was eventually held, and the court sentenced him to 7 years in prison for murder and illegal weapons ownership. He was condemned and transported to prison in a prison bus. Bradley was subjected to a physical checkup upon his arrival at the prison. The jail warden then instructed the detainees to liberate all things from their bodies, which was followed by a medical examination at the clinic. After that, an elderly man named Lefty led him to his cell on the top level. When Bradley arrived in his cell, he was greeted by Andre, a jail warden. While in prison, Andre explained the regulations to the prisoners. When the bell rang, the inmates were required to come out and stand in front of their cells to be registered. The detainees quickly stood in front of their individual cells when the bell rang and the jail warden examined them. Bradley was still deep asleep when all the inmates upstairs were standing in front of the cell, and the inmate had to wait till he awoke. Bradley woke up soon after and is scolded by the prison warden. He was told he needs to be more disciplined and follow the rules of the prison. Lauren, who was sleeping at Bradley's house, was awakened by an intruder who had broken into her home and shot her with a stun gun. Lauren then passed out and was transported to an unknown location by her captors. Bradley was summoned to his office the next day in prison to meet with prison officials. Denise, one of the staff members, informed him that an obstetrician wanted to visit him. The doctor turned out to be his wife's obstetrician. Lauren's doctors wanted to talk about the pregnancy difficulties she was having. The next day, Bradley ran into Dr. Pellman in the jail reception area. Dr. Pellman turned out to be Elizar's henchman who came to the prison to tell him that his boss lost $3.2 million in the failed drug deal. Later, he showed him a photograph of Lauren on a chair, her eyes closed and her hands tied. If Bradley does not agree with Elizar's requests, Dr. Pellman has threatened to abort Lauren's pregnancy. They finally came to an arrangement. Bradley was asked to make atonement by murdering Christopher Bridge, an inmate who had been sentenced to life in prison. The convicts were housed in cell block 99 of a different prison. The prison warden led Bradley back to his cell when he completed talking with his visitor. He abruptly removed his shoes before entering his cell and began thrashing Andre with them. Fights occurred. Bradley purposefully created a fuss in order to be transported to Redleaf's cell block 99, which was a different prison with utmost security. Bradley could beat Andre easily. However, some of Andrew's colleagues came and managed to catch him. On his approach to the cell, Bradley attacked some of the jail officers again, and a battle ensued. Bradley did this because he believed the trouble he was causing was insufficient to warrant his relocation to the Redleaf region. He was electrocuted by one of the prison guards at the end of the struggle, and he was moved to the Redleaf prison. His wish came true. The warden received Bradley when he arrived at Redleaf prison. The warden emphasized that Redleaf is a maximum security prison with very small odds of being released.
It's a maximum security facility.
Bradley was escorted to cell number 59 after a physical examination. When he arrived to the cell, he was taken aback by the state of the cell, which was in stark contrast to the prior penitentiary. The cell is now filthy, dark, and stinky. The excrement of past detainees has filled the cell area that was connected to the open toilet. He removed his shirt to hide his nose since he couldn't take the stench. Officers contacted Bradley after he had been in his cell for a long time and took him outdoors for 60 minutes to get some fresh air. When he arrived at the prison, he was accosted by Derek, a teenage inmate. Derek was then asked if he knew a prisoner named Christopher Bridge by Bradley. Derek, on the other hand, stated that he was unfamiliar with the prisoner's name. Bradley approached 3 detainees who were exercising a short time later. Despite Derek's orders not to approach the detainees, he continued to harass them. It was unavoidable that fights would break out. The hostages began to fall one by one. Prison guards fired warning shots not long after. Bradley assaulted the officers once more. He was eventually rendered unconscious and transferred to cell block 99 with his eyes closed. Bradley's blindfold was removed when he arrived at cell block 99, and he discovered that it was very solitary and underground. He put on an electric jacket before entering the cell. When he entered the cell, he noticed a lot of broken glass on the floor. Meanwhile, Lauren looked very weak because she was held in a hidden place. Pellman was also there at the location where Lauren was taken captive with an abortion doctor from Korea. However, they had not performed an abortion on Lauren, but had only carried out a preliminary examination. The scene switched back to the prison. Bradley, who was lying still in his cell, began yelling Christopher Bridge's name.
Christopher Bridge.
The inmate next door then responded that there was no such person as Christopher Bridge in prison. Soon after, jail officers arrived and electrocuted him till he hobbled. The warden then informed Bradley that certain detainees had requested to visit him. Bradley was led downstairs to meet the detainees. When he met the inmates, he discovered that one of them was Elizar. Dr. Pellman's order to execute Christopher Bridges was subsequently revealed to be a deception so that Bradley could be taken to cell block 99 and tortured by Elizar. Elizar became enraged when he revealed that he had lost $3.2 million. Furthermore, Bradley was sentenced to prison as a result of his acts, and his sister had to become a widow after killing her husband Pedro during a firefight at the dock. Bradley was tortured continuously until he was weak. He was then shown a photo of his wife, Lauren, who was also lying limp and helpless. After the torture, Bradley was dragged into his cell. Bradley went back to Elizar's detention cell and attacked his men. Elizar's men fell one by one, leaving only Elizar in the jail. Elizar was then strangled by Bradley, who demanded that he contact Dr. Pellman to cancel his wife's abortion. He also requested that they transport Lauren to Gil's residence. After breaking Elizar's leg, Bradley's request was granted. Lauren dashed towards Gil as soon as she arrived at his house. Gil then shot Dr. Pellman and the abortion doctor with a long gun from a distance, killing them both. After getting word that his wife had survived by cell phone while in prison, Bradley sent a farewell message to his wife, asking her to put the phone to her tummy so that the baby she was carrying could hear what he was about to say. He wished for a healthy and intelligent child for his child. Bradley had a pained expression on his face since he knew he would never see his son again. He returned to Elizar's cell room after hanging up and attacked him till his skull fell off. When the jailer arrived, he shot Bradley in the head, killing him. The film has come to a close.